This podcast is brought to you by the Prospect Research Institute, where researchers come to learn, innovate, and connect.
Really, I'd almost say start with a data science project, right? Which is, have a hypothesis, figure out like the manual way to do some of these sort of things and the difficulties there. And then really think through what is the process of turning that into something that's more machine learning. Because you're going to find that there might be an opportunity to do a slightly more manual process. And then you'll get to a level where you'll say, oh, now we have this huge amount of data. That's when we dive into the machine learning or more sort of approach.
Welcome to Prospect Research Chat Bites, a podcast by and for prospect research professionals. I'm Jennifer Filla. Today, I'm talking with Jared Sheehan, CEO of PwrdBy, a technology company. Hello, Jared. Thank you for joining me today on Chat Bites.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
And I'm so glad that I stumbled over PwrdBy's website when I was researching AI and fundraising because I hadn't heard of you before. And I saw that your company was a little bit different than some of the other ones I've seen out there. But you do have some products that you've created, and I'm wondering if you could share with me and listeners what PwrdBy does.
Absolutely. And yes, we are a little bit of a hybrid organization. We think of ourselves as a social enterprise, helping to create the next generation of technologies for nonprofits and other mission-driven organizations. We have a consulting arm, as well as we do have a few products. Our products are really built out of problems that we found doing some of the consulting work and then turned into things that would help other organizations in the sector. So the two products are Neon Moves and Amelia. And what they really do is they help folks who are on the go be able to steward either corporate partners or major gift prospects more easily. So it's mostly a mobile app that plugs into a CRM that leverages some AI to be able to essentially figure out who haven't you talked with in a bit? How can you steward them a little bit more easily? And all those sort of activities that sometimes if you have an extra 15 minutes or 30 minutes between meetings when you're out driving around and doing those sort of things, there's a lot of value to be created there that if you don't have to put in a lot of brain power to do it, it can result in a lot of improved fundraising. Now, obviously right now with COVID, people are not driving around nearly as much as normal. But, typically you have folks who are on the go all the time. Those are a lot of the products that we've built right now. Otherwise, we do a lot of consulting work. So, everything from we've built strategies for Fortune 100 companies, mostly in the sustainability and corporate social responsibility space. And then we've done everything from design development to building, data science programs or artificial intelligence apps and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, we're a bit of a hybrid, just to summarize.
I'm wondering if you'd share a little bit more detail about Neon Moves, because moves management or prospect management, that's a difficult program to run at a nonprofit that's doing fundraising. What does it do?
Yeah, so Neon Moves is exclusive to the Neon CRM platform, and it's a mobile extension to the platform. So it's got moves management capabilities in there. So it enables the user to be able to see everything that they would see in the CRM, but not in a CRM format. So it's meant to be able to search for donors. You can do that alphabetically or geographically, and then you're able to do actions on the go from your phone and all the different things related to that. But the real power of it is when you're doing those actions, it's encouraging you to do moves management. Is this a solicitation? Is this more informational? And then being able to track all of this back to the Neon CRM moves management platforms and those sort of things. And then kind of the secret sauce of the whole thing is we have an AI, it's machine learning specifically, algorithm that is called Plan My Day. And what that does, it says, how long do you have? Do you have an hour? Do you have 2 hours? Do you have 4 hours? Do you care about geographic location, yes or no? If no, it just looks across the database. If yes, it picks a specific city. And then it says, who do you want to steward? And so then it creates a recommended list of people that you haven't talked to in a while, are potentially high value donors, and says, hey, here's some people that you can reach out to. Do you want to text them? Do you want to call them? Do you want to email them? That's really it. So it's really meant to be a stewardship tool to be able to engage some of those moves management steps around important donors.
That's great. So it does recommend, you don't have to do lengthy researching in your database and lots of queries, and you can fill out this app form and it's going to say, hey, try this person or that person.
Yeah, and the other piece of this that we're going to be adding in here very shortly is adding in wealth data as well. And there are a bunch of different wealth data organizations out there, so we'll be providing data from one of those organizations. But being able to marry that information of would this individual have a specific amount of wealth information that would be out there, along with when was the last time you engaged with them and what are they interested in. So yes, that's the idea.
Great, great. Yeah, so what I wanted to have you help me here is a little bit of imagining, because sometimes I think one of the things that came out of my researching and finding your company, it's difficult sometimes to imagine what artificial intelligence, machine learning, even data analytics can do to solve some of our problems. Like if we've never had it before, it's tough to think of how it could work. We just don't have it in our heads yet. Do you work with folks like us? And have you seen some problems that arise that machine learning can solve?
There are definitely solutions out there. I would say that for the Neon Moves application, that's specifically for the fundraiser who's on the go. The idea being is that they wouldn't need to poke a prospect researcher quite as often if they can get some of that recommendation without having to go back and ask that person. Now, if I'm putting on my prospect researcher hat, which yes, we have worked with prospect researchers. If I'm putting on my prospect researcher hat, every prospect that a fundraiser is out speaking to has a story. And what that prospect researcher is trying to figure out are what are the key details of it, right? Is this person generous, yes or no? Do they have the financial ability to donate, yes or no? Have they been donating more? Is there a trend that they're engaging with the organization more? Any of those sort of things. Like to me, it's telling a story with all those data points. And now, along with that is a segmentation component, right? Everything about the world requires us to prioritize our time. We only have so much time in a day. And while we would love to talk to everyone, we have to prioritize who's the most important. And the way that I think about that is I think about it kind of like an ABC approach, right? But your A prospects are those that have high net worth, are really engaged in the organization, and could potentially be cultivated into a major gift donor or maybe even principal, depending on the organization. Then Bs might have some things that fit in really well and other ones that aren't as well. And the C ones you have to try to stay away from until you get through the A's and B's at times. And that's the segmentation and prioritization components for me. So as I think about the tools that are going into this, there are actually a few different platforms out there that are trying to do some of these sort of things. So from the portfolio side of things, there's an organization up in Canada called Wisely that's specifically trying to help prospect researchers and fundraisers be able to create that portfolio. And I think that's really fascinating. And then in terms of like data-driven storytelling, not from a machine learning perspective, but obviously wealth data organizations are trying to do that. And then separately, there are some AI-focused organizations trying to figure out that component of essentially being able to tell that story. And one of them, Futurist, is a friend of ours, and they're trying to use experience data from your hospital engagement to think about those sort of things. And I would still say I think there's a lot of opportunity in that space in terms of how you could take large data sets and start being able to weave that story. So to answer your question, I would say that I think there are a few tools out there. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to think through how to be better at doing data science related to prospect research.
I would agree. I feel like there's a lot of potential even in some of the non-machine learning environment, but
Right.
I wonder if machine learning couldn't help augment by bringing some external information and doing better matching to our databases. And I'll give you an example. I'm working with an organization where they've been really good at relationships over the years, but they haven't done serious fundraising until recently. So you have a lot of people who are connected to the organization and each other, but we don't know that because it's not, coded in the system, and people are private. So unless you know that information, or unless you went to their LinkedIn profile or saw that their neighbor's name matched the name in your database as another donor, those kinds of things, like those connections aren't there. Is machine learning something that could help with that, where it could take information from different external data sets and really better match that sort of data?
Right. Yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity for that. The thing to think about in anything related to artificial intelligence, of which machine learning is a subset of that, is that it's all about the amount of data to be able to do something. So if you have a small amount of data, there's no reason to even be thinking about machine learning, right? Regression analysis or some other statistical analysis is really the best approach for that. Then once you start getting to a larger amount of data, that's when things like machine learning and reinforcement learning, and then you get to really large amounts of data and you get deep learning to be able to do some of these sort of things. And when I say large amounts, I'm talking about millions to billions of rows of data, not thousands. Yes, absolutely. Can machine learning do more around that? And I think the thing that you could probably use related to machine learning that would be really exciting is around how do we pull more information that's publicly available from the web, right? You mentioned LinkedIn. If you would be able to go in and scrape off of LinkedIn, or be able to, and there are some regulatory privacy things related to each of these things. So I'm kind of giving a futurist perspective of this, but recognize there are definitely some hurdles here. But if you could pull off of information related to Crunchbase and then LinkedIn, and be able to take that data and match it to that exact same constituent record in your CRM, and be able to have that single source of truth with all those data points in there, I think that's a really interesting use case for machine learning. The challenge that a lot of organizations are running into is that there are a lot of hurdles related to each of those platforms. Really, I'd almost say start with a data science project, right? Which is, have a hypothesis, figure out like the manual way to do some of these sort of things and the difficulties there. And then really think through what is the process of turning that into something that's more machine learning. Because you're going to find that there might be an opportunity to do a slightly more manual process, and then you'll get to a level where you'll say, oh, now we have this huge amount of data. That's when we dive into the machine learning or more sort of approach.
So when I read about people being asked to tag photos so that machines could learn from them, and what a tedious and boring job that is. Well, researchers do stuff like that all the time. Like, we get the screening back, and then we have to manually go into each name for the top rated and make sure it's correct. Make sure that real estate was a real match. And I feel like sometimes that's all wasted effort, because if there was a machine watching that, we're essentially tagging that photograph for the machine. There's got to be a way to pull that in so that each organization, which, if we had a way to marry all the tedious manual work we do as researchers with a machine learning program, that could be like super powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Image recognition, really at the end of the day, what you're doing in image recognition is you're identifying shapes and patterns and trying to match them to other shapes and patterns and colors and some other things as well. But, it's essentially pattern matching. So what you're describing is the same sort of thing. What you'd have to do is you'd have to essentially create a software that prospect researchers would be able to have run in parallel with them and watch what they do, right? Watch that tagging process and all that information, and then have that program start trying to do the same sort of thing with records. And then as they work in parallel, as you're describing, that machine learning algorithm gets smarter in the tagging. And then at some point, you can have the human side of it stop doing that, right? Now, again, you'll need a lot of data to do that. So this would be probably one of those fun exercises of how can we get, 100 prospect researchers across the country doing different use cases and having the algorithm track those tagging activities to figure out a better way to do it.
When I hear people that are worried that we're going to automate our job and we won't have jobs, it just always feels pretty silly to me, because then I also hear how they're having people tag photographs. Like, there is so much room for improvement that would make our lives as prospect researchers so much more productive and fun. There are definitely ways in which this can really benefit what we do and augment what we do instead of replacing us.
I completely agree. And I'm a bit of a technology evangelist, so I probably skew more towards the side of being excited about new technology, there will definitely be opportunities where artificial intelligence will take jobs from certain people. But I think you're right. Will also be opportunities for people to do more creative things and less manual things, to be able to have a redefinition of what it means to be in the workforce. Think of it this way: 30 years ago, we didn't have search engine optimization, SEO, as a job. Now that there is a whole field of people that all they do is try to figure out how to make it so your organization or your article jumps to the top of that Google search, right? And that's a career now. So the career changes, the world changes, the skill sets required change, and all this sort of things. And I think the reflection of people being worried about their job is more a reflection about worried about having to retool their role and their experience and the things that they're used to into something new, which is, I understand, a scary prospect. But for me, I completely agree with you. The less you have to do manual routine tasks and you can have a program do those sort of things, the more time you get to go in and build those data-driven stories, as we were previously talking.
Right, and help to guide them and define them while the machine is doing all that tedious work. We can help guide and define what's a best prospect for our organization. And that brings up the bias where, we may look to a new audience and we can ask the machine to help us do that instead of being as worried that the machine is only going to produce one type of donor. We can help and be in the position as researchers to help guide the process of being more inclusive, because we don't have to do the tedium as much anymore. It could be a real game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. As we were studying the state of AI in the nonprofit sector for the second year in a row now, one of the major reasons why people are excited about AI-related technology is organizational efficiency. How do they do less of the things that they really hate doing over and over again, and more of the things that are exciting and creative and challenging? So I agree with you.
Are there any other sneak previews you can give us for that report? Something that's changed over the year?
Yeah. I would say probably the big sneak preview that we have this year are a couple things. The one is we're seeing more people are a bit more divisive about AI this year than they were last year. So what I mean by that is more people have adopted AI, but at the same time, more people are saying they don't want to adopt AI or they're scared of AI. So you're starting to see a divide between folks a little bit more than we did last year. Second of all, people who have adopted AI, we're starting to see different and unique use cases, but also not everyone's seeing the value of AI, which is not to say AI doesn't work. It's just that the respondents didn't see quite as much value. So last year we saw, for the folks who were implementing AI, saw very high numbers. 74% of folks saw value in it. This year we only had 60% of people who saw value in it comparatively. So not a dramatic change, but very interesting to see that there have been some failures in the AI space as well. There have been a lot of successes as well. So the other thing that we really dove into this year that's going to be exciting is we got a lot more topical about AI. So rather than just talk about the fundraising side of it and then the programmatic side of it, we actually got into some of the topics in the programmatic side of it and broke things down by bias and ethical frameworks, health and safety, awareness and education, and environment and animal-related AI technologies, because there's a bunch of really cool things happening in those spaces.
That's going to be a good read, I can tell.
Well, I hope so.
Is there anything else before I let you go that you want to share about what you're working on or the report that's coming out, maybe how people can find that report?
Yeah, this year's report is going to come out the week of November 16th, and we're partnering this year with Neon One and Futurist, so two other technology partners, and all of us will be providing it via our websites and newsletters, and then we'll also probably be providing it via Nonprofit Pro as well. So just trying to get the word out there for folks, and going to have a ton of information. I don't want to tell readers quite how long it is because it's got a lot of information in there, but we also have key findings and summaries so you can quickly scan through it if you want to. We're excited about it coming out. It's a labor of love, a lot of really interesting information in there. We look forward to having everyone read it.
Wonderful. I look forward to reading it for sure. And thank you so much for sharing with me today on Chat Bites.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun and exciting.
That was Jared Sheehan, CEO of PwrdBy, a technology company. Are you as eager as I am to get your hands on a copy of the just released State of AI in the Nonprofit Sector study? Probably. You'll find the link in the show notes, or you can go directly to the Powered by website at pwrdby.com/non-profit-AI. And now you can go enjoy some instant gratification. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Prospect Research Institute's learning community. It's a membership community with powerful resources, great discussions, and comprehensive courses. Check it out at member.prospectresearchinstitute.org. I'd love to have you join me as a member of the learning community. See you there.